She had been murdered a few years before I was born. So I thought I had her name wrong, that I wasn't remembering it correctly. So I looked in a file that I had to dig up her name.
We are going to jump right into this story because it's so interesting. At the age of 45, you find out your dad is not your biological dad.
I actually never called him my dad. I called him my father or my sperm donor because he wasn't even in the picture then. I didn't grow up
Oh,
with him around. So, yeah, I met him when I was 21 and then he died 10 years later. So, he wasn't a big figure in my life. He was
gotcha.
more a big figure because he wasn't in my life. So,
Mm.
yeah, but it was still a big shock to say the least.
I mean, it definitely would be. We want to make sure folks know that your book, your memoir, is called The Daddy Files.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct. The Daddy Files. And I did that partially because I had three dads, in a sense. I had the one that my fake birth father, as I call him, then the dad who raised me, and then my true birth father, eventually. And then I
Yeah.
had all the oopses that I thought might be potential birth fathers until I found the true one. So,
I I cannot imagine the mental state, even at the age of, like I said, maybe 21. It's like, I think, does that really matter at that point in time? But I guess it
oh,
does, right?
it does. It really does. And I've thought about it because dads are so important, especially, and I'm sure they are for boys too, don't get me wrong. But for girls, they're the first ones who tell us who we are and love us and basically we're worth. And so who we aspire to be and live up to be and
It makes sense because you hear stories, you hear movie titles, you hear songs, Daddy's Little Girl, things
yeah,
like that. So it's not a lie, it's true.
no, it's so true.
Uh,
And they influence how we see ourselves and how we see the world. And without it, it skewers life and it skewers our view of ourselves. They teach us confidence in a way.
and I guess it doesn't matter how old you are as far as that
No.
confidence go. We can lack it, we can need it, or we can have it at any age. So take us through this journey of yours on this Daddy Files, if you can.
Well, so many options here.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, exactly. I've always joked that my life is better than a soap opera, that I don't need to watch them. So, yeah, I was working on my ancestry and couldn't find anything about my fake birth father's mother. And she had been murdered a few years before I was born. So I thought I had her name wrong, that I wasn't remembering it correctly. So I looked in a file that I had to dig up her name. And I'm looking at papers that I had. And on his military discharge paperwork, I saw his blood type. And when I did, I heard a voice, a male voice, goes, "He's not your father." And I was like, ooh. And I was the only one at home with my small children at the time. So I knew it was God. And I'm like, okay. And the other reason I knew it was God is because I'm not good in science. So then I went digging and played detective, which is also the reason why it's titled The Daddy Files, because I wrote it like a detective case file.
And you really were doing a genealogy, a family
Yeah.
tree. And
Yeah, that's what started the whole shebang and opened my can of worms.
this sounds like you're opening up a can of worms or Pandora's box. You never know what you're
Yeah,
gonna get.
exactly. And
S-
so many people are discovering that. They think they're just doing their family tree and doing their DNA to find out where their families are from. And then they discover, ooh, those aren't my parents.
When you heard the voice, and then when you, I don't say reconfirmed, but when it was confirmed to you in other ways, we'll call it
Mhm.
the scientific way.
Right.
Do you remember what your immediate feeling was or your thought?
I I actually laughed. I was kind of relieved in a way.
Oh,
I know, sounds crazy, but Alan was not a great guy, to put it
okay.
mildly. He was alcoholic, he was abusive to my mom, which is why she had left him. And so my thought was, I have a chance at a good birth father. I have a chance at somebody who will love me, who will want to be around me. Didn't think about the fact that it really could have been horribly way worse because he could have
Yeah.
been a murderer. He could have been who knows what. But I lucked out and he wasn't. So
So let's get Alan was
the
dad
fake
number
birth
one or
father,
two?
he was dad number one. He's the one listed on my birth certificate.
Okay. This is me jumping ahead though.
Go
Did your
for it.
mom keep these things from you to protect you? Did you ever ask her and say, Mom,
Oh,
why didn't
yeah.
you tell me? Or did you
Yeah, I
know?
called her. As soon as I realized, I called her and I was like, hey, who's my dad? And she was like, you know who your dad is. And I'm like, you're right. I know who my dad is. Who's my father? It's not Alan. Who's my father? And she, dead silence.
Mm.
Okay, so that was when I was 45. I'm now 57, 12 years. She still isn't talking, basically. She's given me, finally, a version. Don't, I love my mom. I have
Mhm.
forgiven her, but I don't know that I believe what she has said for multiple reasons. So I lean towards thinking that it was shame that she didn't speak up. And like I told her, it was the late 60s when I was conceived. I did not care how I was conceived because I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here if it hadn't happened. But yeah, there was probably shame involved. So she was
It's
she was 19 and single. So
Man, I guess there is, like I said, that shame even today, where if
yeah,
a woman were to get pregnant, single, 19, 17, whatever it might be, there
right.
could be some shame. Maybe it was the wrong boy, wrong
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
whatever it may have been. But for her to really not have a conversation with you for 12 years since you broke this jack in a box wide open, is that hard on you? I mean, not having again, I don't want to jump into
Yeah,
any conclusions and saying that it's
no, it's cool.
a difficult relationship between mom and daughter and things like that. But is there anything that you feel that you wish it were different between the two of you? Um,
It has definitely changed our relationship because growing up, she and I were really close. She was
oh,
my best
okay.
friend. And when I made the discovery, we went from being best friends to she wouldn't look at me, she wouldn't talk to me for a year. She didn't answer my phone calls or my text messages. My dad, who raised me, he did. He would call me and say, hey, Missy, I see you called your mom, or I see you texted mom. What's up? What you need? Flip side of that, he and I got closer. So there was a plus there. But so, yeah, she and I have reconciled, and she knows I've forgiven her. And I've told her that she needs to forgive herself.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah.
Let me ask you this. And during the time that you were doing your investigative research and then you
Mhm.
finished that and you were writing the book, was your intent to write this book, this guide? And did it give you any type of healing process while you're doing it?
Not at first. That was
Okay.
not my intent at first. And if I would have realized that I was going to write a book, I would have definitely journaled and taken notes because it would have made it easier. um, because I had to dig and remember stuff and open things that had healed. I had to reopen.
That was things that had healed for you personally.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Things that had healed for me personally. I had to reopen so that I could put it on paper for in the book.
mhm.
And I shared stuff in the book that originally I wasn't going to because I tried to protect my mom.
Yeah.
And it some of it didn't necessarily put her in a good light. And I didn't want to hurt her by sharing. But as I progressed through learning and walking through this, I was meeting more and more people that were going through similar situations. And they were amazed that they weren't the only one and
Yeah.
that I was willing to open up about it and talk about it where they weren't. And so they felt a connection and they felt hope that one day that they could heal too, because I was farther along in the process than they were. And so that's when I decided, okay, I need to write because somebody out there, maybe it would help somebody out there. So,
Yeah, that's the thing where one way or the other, if you're embellishing something that didn't happen, or if you leave out or change something, people will have a more difficult time, I think, relating. If
mhm,
somehow, sometimes I
yeah,
think people know that it's the truth, and especially if you are not faith based and you need something else like another person
mhm,
to be able to connect with and understand, even on paper,
right.
telling the truth is the best
Oh,
therapy and the
definitely.
best thing.
Yes. Oh, definitely. So,
Yeah.
and when I was writing it, I kept saying that if it helped one person, it was worth it. Well, I got my one person before it even hit print because the last editor that looked at it, she asked if she could email me about it. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, it's not bad. She goes, I'm done with all my edits and stuff. And it was for formatting. She goes, but I really want to talk to you about it. It's like, okay. She had just, for I think 4 years, 4 or 5 years, she had been going through the same situation. And she said she didn't think anybody else was. And it helped her forgive her mother
Mm.
reading my book because she had been struggling. And she said, thank you so much for writing it. And I was like, okay, God, thank you. There's my one person. So anybody else is a bonus. So
And forgiveness can sometimes be a learning process. We have to learn how to forgive.
definitely. And it's not a one and done deal either.
Right.
It's because, like with my mom, there would be days that I would forgive. 5 minutes later, I would be so angry and so hurt. I'd have to forgive her again. So I was consciously choosing minute by minute to forgive her and let it go. Because it wasn't just that it was hurting her by me not forgiving, it was hurting me and eating me and making me an angry person. And I did not want to be an angry, bitter person. That's not me.
And that's the other thing too, where it oddly enough affects us that way, which affects our other relationships that we have, the people
Yes.
around us. It's not just you or,
Hmm.
me, the person that may be going through
Right.
it. It will affect others that are around you. So I guess for me, I hope that's the one big thing that people take away, that forgiveness is learned.
Yes.
I look at it that way because it's not an automatic thing. You don't
No,
automatically forgive, because
no,
we definitely know that.
definitely. Yeah.
Uh,
And my other thing too on the forgiveness is I have to forgive her if I want somebody else to forgive me for something I do.
mhm.
Because I'm not perfect and I'm going to make mistakes and I am going to blow it. And I know I have in the past and I know I will in the future. So
Melissa, or may I call you MJ?
you sure can.
Thanks, MJ. You mentioned there are things that you were thinking about keeping out of your book, but you
Mm,
decided to put those in for the facts, for the truth of
right.
it. Can you give us one of those things,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind?
Not at all. The one I struggled with the most is that when I asked my mom about it, at first she said it was her her first comment was that the military had his blood type wrong on the discharge paper. Well, that I put in there, and that wasn't easy to put in there. The next thing she went to, though, that I really struggled with putting in there was that she then said I was switched at birth. And she
Mm.
stuck to that for about a month. And her saying that I was switched at birth hurt so much. That was the hardest out of everything through the whole discovery, the whole search, everything. That was the hardest, most difficult thing to deal with. At first, I kind of laughed. And then I thought, wait a minute, she's serious. And I thought, could I be? And then she went on to, and this is where it gets funny. Um, then she went on to say that, yeah, the whole time she was pregnant, they had told her she was pregnant with a boy. So how did she not know that I wasn't hers and that I'd been switched? I'm like, okay, wait a minute. They're not going to switch a boy and a girl baby. Plumbing's different. They're not going to do that. But she stuck to that for a month. Was very adamant that I had been switched at birth. So I finally was like, Mom, okay, you would rather I lose my whole family, my whole identity, everybody, granny, granddaddy, your brothers, your sister, you, my sister, my half sister that she had given birth to 10 years after me. I would lose everybody, my full identity in one fell swoop rather than admit that Alan's not my father. So after I put it to her like that, a couple of days later, she finally came to me and said, okay, no, that's not, you weren't switched at birth. But that was the one that I was going to leave out.
And you
And
still don't really know the full truth, the full facts of why your mom really kept all of this.
no,
And like I said, it was possibly just being ashamed of whatever it is,
yeah,
embarrassment.
that's what I think.
I'm giving that, holding my breath because, once again, I said this earlier, I cannot imagine that. You know, it's one thing to know that you were adopted
Mhm.
and then have that curiosity and that wonder.
Right.
But to have been, and forgive me if this is a strong word to use, to have been told a lie from your biological for many years,
Yeah.
and then for
No,
them to try to convince you, even after you confronted them, is something that I don't think I can even fathom how that would feel.
yeah, it's definitely a doozy.
Yeah.
It,
Well, like I said,
yeah.
it's your life is a made for the big silver screen movie and or a book with many chapters.
Yep.
I just want to make sure too that folks know that they can go to melissajeanrod.com. Is that correct? To go to your
That's
website.
correct. Mm.
And can they sign up for anything there to get on a mailing list of
Yep.
any
They
sort?
can sign up for a mailing list. They can also purchase an autographed copy of my book. And I have two other books that I have collaborated with that they can also get through there, or they can get it through Amazon.
So how are you feeling and how are you doing today with this? Are your emotions intact? Does that sound like a
Yeah.
silly question?
No, that's not a silly question at all. And I'm doing good. I have an amazing family. Um, when I finally found out who my father was and met his family, they are fantastic. And
Okay.
so, yeah, and they welcomed me without hesitation. So, yeah, it's good.
So I guess the other key to all this is support. Having a strong support, whether it be family or
Yes.
friends or relatives,
Yes.
is helpful.
That's a biggie. Yep. And
Wow.
actually, on that note, and on the note of dads and fathers, the dad who raised me, who's also named Chuck, by the way, uh, he was super supportive from the beginning and was, yeah, he was great. And he was with me when I found out who my father was. So he was the
Wow.
first one after me to find out his name.
Oh,
Chuck's the dad who raised me. He's my stepfather or my
yes.
adopted father. But yeah. And then Danny's the true birth father.
Your
You need a
biological,
flow
your
chart.
true. Yeah. I got Alan, I got Chuck, I got Danny, was it?
Mhm.
See,
Yeah.
that part kind of threw me off because I mentioned early on to you about my friend in Texas, Danny.
Yeah, I know. I caught that. Oh, it's even
But
better because my husband's name is Chuck as well. So
oh wow.
total, yeah. Can't get away from y'all.
You know, we have to have open minds. We have to
Yes.
have this may sound crazy, but insight, which
Hmm.
again, it goes along with some of the folks, if you are not faith-based, you have to have an insight to something, which you definitely seem like you had both.
Oh, yeah,
Because at the
definitely.
beginning, you were not guided by, we'll call it faith, to do this.
No, not at all. It was strictly because I did not grow up with my birth father. I was always curious about ancestry.
Hmm.
And okay, so look at this face here. Okay. The man that I believed was my birth father was part Cherokee. Obvious, right? I mean, this is so says Cherokee.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Cherokee
hello.
in you.
Oh. So, um, so ancestry was always a big deal for me, and I was always curious about it.
Oh, Melissa Jean Rod, MJ, this is a fascinating story. And that might be the wrong choice of words saying
Nah, it's good.
fascinating, but it is
It is
interesting,
fascinating.
fascinating, and amazing, but true.
Yes, exactly. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, especially in this situation. Once again, folks, you can go to melissajeanrod.com and
Mhm.
her book is called The Daddy Files. I have enjoyed having you on today, so thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. It was fun, Chuck.